We have this idea, this deeply ingrained belief that love is about proving, about effort, about showing up in a way that says, pick me. But what if I told you that the more we grip, the more we chase, the more we try to hold on to something that isn't fully ours, the further it slips away. I want to talk about detachment. Not coldness, not apathy, but the kind of quiet, unshakable self-worth that draws people in like gravity. See, we are wired to desire what feels valuable, the things we cannot easily have. And yet, we've been conditioned to believe that love should be an open display of pursuit. But let's be honest. When was the last time someone's desperation made them attractive? Women, just like men, are drawn to strength, not loud, showy, forceful strength, but the kind that says, I don't need you, I choose you. There's a massive difference. Need is exhausting, choice is powerful. The reason detachment is attractive is because it signals security. It says, I am whole on my own. And that wholeness, it's rare. It's intoxicating. It's magnetic. A man who knows his value, who doesn't seek validation, who isn't emotionally overextending himself, creates a natural dynamic of intrigue, because when you're not constantly proving your worth, people assume you already have it. So what does detachment look like in love? It's having boundaries. It's showing up fully, but never in a way that compromises your own sense of self. It's knowing when to lean in and when to step back. It's understanding that attraction isn't built in pursuit. It's built in presence, in self-assurance, in the ability to walk away when something isn't aligned. We've all been told that love requires effort, that relationships demand constant pursuit, and that showing someone how much you care is the ultimate key to attraction. But here's what they don't tell you. Sometimes the most powerful move you can make is to let go. Detachment is not about indifference. It's not about shutting down or withholding affection. It's about standing in your own worth so firmly that you do not collapse under the weight of another person's validation. It is the ability to want someone but not need them. And that is where the magic happens. Think about the most captivating people you've ever met, the ones who make you lean in a little closer, who make you wonder what's going on in their mind. They are never the ones who are overly eager, never the ones tripping over themselves to prove they belong. Instead, they carry a quiet confidence, an energy that says, I am enough as I am, whether you choose to be part of my world or not. When a man embodies this mindset, it shifts the entire dynamic of attraction. Women don't just notice, they feel it. Because deep down, detachment signals something primal, security. A detached man does not chase, and in not chasing, he becomes someone worth pursuing. Let's break this down a little further. When a man is overly attached, whether to an outcome, a person, or even an idea of how things should be, he unconsciously creates pressure. He begins to seek control, trying to mold situations or people to fit his expectations, and in doing so, he becomes needy, anxious, and often repelling. Now flip the script. A detached man doesn't grip, he doesn't force. He understands that attraction and connection are about flow, not force. He trusts that what is meant for him will come and what isn't will pass, and he is okay either way. This is why detachment is so powerful. It shifts your energy from one of lack to one of abundance. Instead of operating from fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, fear of not being enough, you start operating from self-assurance. And when you move with self-assurance, people respond differently. Imagine two men in the same situation. One texts a woman repeatedly, trying to get a response, trying to secure her attention. His messages get longer, more desperate, more anxious. She pulls away. She starts to feel suffocated. Not because she doesn't like him, but because his energy screams, I need you to validate me. Now, imagine the other man. He sends one message. If she responds, great. If she doesn't, he moves on with his life because his world doesn't revolve around her reply. And guess what? That energy is attractive. That energy makes her wonder, why isn't he chasing? Why is he so at ease? This isn't a game. It's not about manipulation or trying to trigger interest by playing hard to get. It's about shifting your mindset to a place where you truly understand your own worth. Because when you detach, you don't just become more attractive, you become freer. You stop wasting energy on things that aren't serving you. You stop trying to convince people to see your value because you already know it for yourself. Detachment is a superpower, not just in attraction, but in life. It allows you to walk away when you need to. It keeps you from settling. It ensures that when someone chooses you, they are doing so because they truly want to, not because you beg them to stay. So if you want to change the way people respond to you, change the way you respond to yourself first. Stand in your power, know your worth, and remember, the less you need, the more you attract. We live in a world where what is rare is valued and what is abundant is taken for granted. Think about it. The diamonds we admire, the exclusive clubs people line up to enter, the limited edition sneakers that sell out in minutes, all of these things command attention, not because they are inherently better, but because they are not easily available. Scarcity creates desire, scarcity creates value, and the same principle applies to human attraction. When something is readily available, we assume it is ordinary. When it is scarce, we assume it is special. This is one of the deepest psychological truths about human nature. People do not chase what is handed to them on a silver platter, they chase what feels just out of reach. Now let's translate that into relationships. When a man is always available emotionally, mentally, and physically without requiring anything in return, he unknowingly devalues himself. He gives the impression that he has an abundance of time and energy to pour into one person, and in doing so, he removes any sense of mystery or intrigue. Imagine a man who constantly texts a woman, who drops everything to be at her service, who rearranges his plans at the slightest hint that she might want to see him. His attention is abundant. It is overflowing. And what happens? She starts to lose interest. Not because she is unkind or ungrateful, but because human psychology is wired to overlook what is always there. Now imagine another man. He has a life, he has priorities. He is kind, but he is not overly accessible. When he does give his time, it is intentional, it is meaningful. And because his attention is not given freely to just anyone, it carries weight. His time is valuable, and because it is valuable, she values it too. This is the power of scarcity. It creates a sense of importance. When you are not always available, when you do not constantly seek validation, you become someone worth having because you are not something everyone can easily access. Let's take a look at another example. Have you ever noticed how people desire what they cannot have? The job that feels out of reach, the car that is too expensive, the person who seems indifferent. It is the chase that fuels the desire. We tell ourselves that if something is difficult to obtain, it must be valuable. This is why people often want the ones who pull away, why they long for the unavailable, and why they lose interest the moment something becomes too easy. But here's the key. This is not about playing games. It is not about pretending to be unavailable or manipulating someone into wanting you. It is about genuinely living a life that does not revolve around seeking approval. It is about valuing yourself so much that you do not feel the need to constantly prove your worth to anyone. When you understand that scarcity creates value, you shift the way you move in the world. You no longer hand out your time and attention freely to those who do not earn it. You no longer seek validation by overgiving. Instead, you create an energy of exclusivity, and people respond to that. So if you ever find yourself wondering why someone is losing interest, ask yourself this: have you made yourself too available? Have you given too much too soon? And if the answer is yes, step back, reclaim your time, focus on yourself. Because the truth is, when your presence is a privilege, not an expectation, people will work to keep it in their lives. Emotional independence is one of the most powerful and attractive qualities a person can possess. It is the ability to stand on your own emotionally without relying on another person to provide you with happiness, validation, or a sense of self-worth. And yet, so many of us fall into the trap of seeking our emotional stability in the hands of others, especially in romantic relationships. We've been taught to believe that love means needing someone, that romance is about two people completing each other, that true connection requires deep emotional dependence. But here's the harsh truth. When you place your emotional well-being in the hands of another person, you are giving them the power to control your happiness. And when someone senses that you need them to feel whole, the balance of attraction shifts. Think about it. Have you ever been around someone who depends on you for their happiness? Someone who constantly looks for reassurance, who panics at the thought of losing you, who clings tightly because they don't know how to stand on their own. At first, their affection might seem flattering, but over time, it starts to feel heavy, draining, almost suffocating. Now, imagine someone who is deeply secure in themselves, a person who enjoys your company, but does not need it. Someone who is capable of handling their own emotions, processing their own struggles, and finding their own happiness. That kind of energy feels light, it feels attractive, it draws people in rather than pushing them away. Emotional independence is not about avoiding vulnerability. It is not about shutting people out or pretending you don't have feelings. It is about understanding that your emotions are yours to manage, that no one else is responsible for making you feel whole, that you and only you are in charge of your internal world. When a man is emotionally independent, he moves differently in relationships. He does not crumble when someone pulls away. He does not chase validation because he already validates himself. He does not react impulsively out of fear because he trusts in his own ability to handle whatever comes his way. He does not let rejection define him because he knows his worth does not come from external approval. And do you know what happens when a man carries himself this way? Women feel it. They sense his steadiness, his self-assuredness, his ability to be whole on his own. And that is intoxicating because deep down, we are all looking for someone who feels safe, not someone who is emotionally unpredictable, not someone who relies on us for their every high and low, but someone who brings stability. When you develop emotional independence, your relationships improve. Why? Because you are no longer placing an unfair burden on another person to make you feel good about yourself. You no longer operate from a place of desperation or fear. You no longer seek love from a place of emptiness, but from a place of fullness. So, how do you cultivate emotional independence? Take responsibility for your emotions. No one is obligated to make you happy. If you're feeling insecure, anxious, or unfulfilled, ask yourself why instead of expecting someone else to fix it. Build a life outside of relationships. Have passions, friendships, and goals that give you purpose. A man who is deeply engaged with his own life is infinitely more attractive than a man whose sole focus is a woman. Learn to sit with discomfort. Not every emotion needs to be fixed or soothed by someone else. Learn to process your feelings without immediately seeking external validation. Set boundaries. Do not overextend yourself emotionally just to keep someone around. Protect your energy and don't allow your emotional well-being to be dictated by another person's behavior. Practice self-motility, self-capture. Practice self-motility, self-relationship motivation. The next time you find yourself seeking reassurance, pause. Instead of looking outward for approval, ask yourself, what do I need to hear right now? Then give that reassurance to yourself. Emotional independence is not just attractive, it is freeing. It allows you to love without attachment, to connect without fear, and to walk away when something no longer serves you. And the best part, when you are emotionally independent, you no longer just attract people, you attract the right people. The ones who recognize your worth, respect your boundaries, and meet you at your level. In a world where so many people are trying to impress, trying to be liked, and trying to fit into someone else's expectations, authenticity is rare. And what is rare is valuable. Authenticity is about being real. It's about standing in your truth, knowing who you are, and refusing to compromise that just to gain approval. Neediness, on the other hand, is the opposite. It is rooted in insecurity, in the desperate desire to be accepted, in the fear that if you don't act a certain way, you won't be enough. Let's get real. People can sense neediness from a mile away. It shows up in the way someone constantly seeks reassurance, in the way they agree with everything to avoid conflict, in the way they mold themselves to be what they think someone else wants. And while that might seem like a way to gain love or validation, it actually does the opposite. It pushes people away. Why? Because neediness feels heavy. It feels like pressure. It signals that a person does not fully trust themselves. And when someone doesn't trust themselves, it's hard for others to trust them either. Now let's talk about authenticity. When a man is authentic, he is comfortable in his own skin. He doesn't play games. He doesn't try to impress with flashy gestures or exaggerated confidence. He is just himself, unapologetically, fully, and without fear. And that is powerful, because authenticity is attractive in a way that neediness never can be. It carries a quiet confidence. It tells the world, this is who I am, take it or leave it. The energy of authenticity versus neediness. Imagine two men in a dating scenario. The first man, driven by neediness, carefully crafts his words to avoid saying the wrong thing. He agrees with opinions he doesn't believe in. He suppresses parts of himself that he thinks might be too much. He constantly checks his phone, anxiously waiting for a response. And if he doesn't get one, he spirals. The second man is different. He speaks his mind, not to impress, but because he values his own thoughts. He doesn't try to force a connection. He enjoys the conversation, but if the energy isn't reciprocated, he isn't fazed. He moves through life knowing that the right people will naturally be drawn to him, and he never feels the need to beg for attention. Which man do you think is more attractive? The answer is obvious. Confidence is born from authenticity, and authenticity comes from knowing that you don't need to perform to be worthy of love and connection. How to shift from neediness to authenticity. If you find yourself slipping into neediness, whether in dating, friendships, or life, there's good news. You can shift out of it. It all starts with self-awareness and a commitment to living in your truth. Here's how. Know who you are. Take time to understand your own values, opinions, and desires. What do you truly enjoy? What matters to you? The more clarity you have about yourself, the less you will feel the need to seek validation from others. Stop trying to please everyone. You are not meant to be liked by everyone. And that's okay. The people who truly align with you will appreciate you for who you are, not for who you pretend to be. Be willing to walk away when you are authentic. You don't cling to relationships that don't serve you. You don't chase people who are indifferent. You understand that your time and energy are valuable and you spend them wisely. Speak your truth. If you have an opinion, share it. If you have a boundary, set it. If something doesn't feel right, address it. Being authentic means standing by what you believe in, even if it means some people won't agree. Detach from outcomes. Neediness comes from an obsession with outcomes. Will she like me? Will this person stay? Authenticity, on the other hand, is about presence. It's about being fully in the moment without trying to control what happens next. Build self-validation. The more you validate yourself, the less you will seek it from others. Instead of waiting for someone to affirm your worth, start affirming it for yourself. Know that you are enough just as you are. Final thoughts. At the end of the day, authenticity is magnetic. It draws people in because it signals confidence, security, and depth. Neediness, on the other hand, repels, because it places the burden of self-worth onto others. So the next time you feel the urge to seek validation, pause, take a breath, ask yourself, am I showing up as my true self, or am I trying to gain approval? Because the moment you stop seeking external validation is the moment you become the most attractive version of yourself. There is something undeniably captivating about mystery. It is the reason we are drawn to unsolved puzzles, the reason certain movies keep us on the edge of our seats, the reason a well-written book is impossible to put down. Mystery sparks curiosity. It creates a pull, an irresistible force that makes us lean in rather than turn away. And when it comes to attraction, mystery is a game changer. Why mystery is so powerful, mystery works, because it activates one of the strongest forces in human psychology, curiosity. When something is unknown, our minds naturally want to figure it out. We are wired to seek answers, to explore, to chase what feels just out of reach. Now apply this to human relationships. When someone is a complete open book, when everything about them is easily accessible, when they reveal too much too soon, there is no intrigue, no excitement, no sense of discovery. And without discovery, attraction fades quickly. But when a person carries a sense of mystery, something interesting happens. They don't reveal everything at once. They don't overshare. They allow space for curiosity to build, for people to wonder about them. And this creates a dynamic that is far more compelling than someone who lays everything out on the table immediately. The difference between mystery and playing games. Now let's be clear. Mystery is not about being secretive, dishonest, or emotionally unavailable. It is not about playing hard to get or manipulating someone into chasing you. That kind of behavior is forced mystery, and people can sense when it's inauthentic. True mystery is natural. It comes from having depth, from being a person who has layers, experiences, and thoughts that are not immediately obvious. It is not about withholding for the sake of withholding. It is about having so much going on within yourself that it cannot all be uncovered in one conversation, one date, or even 1 year. Depth, the foundation of mystery. Mystery without depth is just an illusion. You can hold back information, act aloof, or avoid direct answers, but if there's nothing real underneath, the intrigue won't last. Depth means having a rich inner world. It means having passions, goals, values, and experiences that shape you into a unique individual. It means having interests that are not just surface level, but deeply embedded in who you are. A man with depth is not just interesting to talk to, he is someone people want to understand. His thoughts are not predictable, his opinions are well formed, his presence carries weight because it is backed by something real. How to cultivate mystery and depth. If you want to embody mystery and depth in an authentic way, you have to build it from the inside out. It's not about tactics, it's about who you become. Here's how. 1, be selective with what you share. You don't have to reveal everything about yourself right away. Instead of immediately answering every question with full detail, let things unfold naturally over time. The less predictable you are, the more intriguing you become. 2, develop a life outside of attraction and dating. People who are overly available or constantly seeking validation tend to have one thing in common. They lack a strong foundation outside of relationships. Develop a life that is fulfilling on its own. Have hobbies, travel, explore new ideas, challenge yourself. When you do, you will naturally have a sense of depth that makes people curious about you. 3, listen more than you speak. Most people love to talk about themselves, but a man with mystery doesn't rush to dominate conversations. He listens, he asks thoughtful questions, he observes. This makes him far more intriguing than someone who constantly needs to be the center of attention. 4, master emotional control. Nothing destroys mystery faster than emotional instability. If you overreact constantly, seek reassurance, or let every little thing shake you, you become predictable, and predictability kills intrigue. Cultivate emotional independence. Be someone who can handle life's ups and downs with composure. 5, have strong opinions and stand by them. Depth comes from having substance. Don't just agree with people to be liked. Have your own thoughts, values, and principles. When someone asks your opinion, give it honestly. Even if others don't always agree, they will respect that you think for yourself. 6, let people earn access to you. Not everyone deserves to know everything about you. A mysterious man understands that access to his time, attention, and personal life is a privilege, not a right. He does not overshare or try to impress people. He allows them to earn deeper layers of his personality over time. 7, surprise people with the unexpected depth means you are not one-dimensional. You might be serious but also have a great sense of humor. You might be calm but passionate about certain things. The more layers you have, the more intriguing you become. Keep people guessing, not by playing games, but by being genuinely multifaceted, the attraction of the unpredictable. One of the biggest reasons mystery and depth are so powerful is that they keep attraction alive. When something is predictable, it becomes routine. When it becomes routine, it loses excitement. But when someone has a sense of mystery, there is always something new to uncover, something more to explore. Think about the most interesting people you've ever met. Were they predictable? Did you feel like you understood them completely within the first hour? Or was there something about them that made you want to know more? That's the effect mystery has. It keeps people engaged, invested, and intrigued because it suggests that there is always something more beneath the surface. There is no quality more defining, more essential to a man's presence than self-respect. It dictates the way you carry yourself, the way you interact with others, and most importantly, the way others treat you. And at the heart of self-respect lies boundaries, the invisible lines that define what you will and will not tolerate. A man without boundaries is like a ship without an anchor. He is tossed around by external forces, reacting to the whims of others, never truly standing his ground. On the other hand, a man who respects himself, who upholds strong personal boundaries, commands an entirely different level of respect and attraction. The relationship between self-respect and boundaries. Self-respect is not just about how you see yourself, it is about how you enforce that perception through action. Many people claim to respect themselves, yet they consistently allow others to cross their boundaries. They stay in toxic relationships, they tolerate disrespect, they overextend themselves to avoid conflict, and in doing so, they send a clear message. My standards are flexible, my self-worth is negotiable, but a man with true self-respect does not just say he values himself, he proves it. He does not beg for attention. He does not settle for poor treatment, and he does not sacrifice his dignity in the name of approval. And that is what makes him magnetic. Why boundaries are so attractive. There is something incredibly powerful about a man who holds his ground, a man who says no when necessary, a man who does not tolerate disrespect even from those he loves. This is because boundaries signal value. When you uphold strong boundaries, you are communicating to the world, I am not desperate for validation. I do not tolerate mistreatment. I will walk away rather than compromise my self-worth. And here's the thing, people respect what they cannot easily control. A man who lacks boundaries is easily manipulated. He is predictable. He is overly available, always seeking to please, always willing to bend over backward for others, and that makes him replaceable. But a man with strong boundaries, he is rare. He is someone who demands respect, not through arrogance, not through force, but through the simple act of valuing himself enough to refuse anything that diminishes his worth. The consequences of weak boundaries, when a man lacks self-respect and fails to set boundaries, the results are predictable. He gets taken for granted. When you give too much too easily, people stop appreciating your